Somewhere along the way, we were taught to mistake exhaustion for success. I'm personally always extremely busy, but it's been even crazier of late with the book signing tour and other huge commitments. So I am extremely grateful to be home now, and I have chosen to spend the evening sitting on the lounge with a cup of tea and a chocolate, one of my favourites. Thank you so much, Livy. But whilst I'm sitting here, I got to thinking, as I do, that we've been taught that a full calendar meant that we were important, that a bigger mortgage meant that you were actually winning at life, you were really getting somewhere. We were taught that new clothes, new furniture, new upgrades, new goals, hello beautiful girl, new versions of ourselves meant that we were growing. But what if some of what we call growth is actually just a very clever form of captivity? So I want you to hear me out for a moment. There was a time not that long ago when life was measured very differently to how we measure it now. It was measured not by how much you owned, not by how busy you looked. It wasn't measured by how impressive your life appeared from the outside. Life was measured far simpler and with far more sacredness. It was measured by, things like having food in the pantry, warmth in the home, children who felt safe, a table that people gathered around and shared. It was measured by hands that knew how to mend, how to cook, how to grow, how to fix, how to preserve, how to provide. It was measured by being blessed enough to have a neighbour that you could call on, a garden that actually gave you something back, a home that wasn't necessarily perfect, but it was full of love. And that was never considered lack. That was actually the ultimate wealth. But here's the thing. A person who knows what true wealth feels like is very hard to sell to. And if you want to sell to people and you want to keep people feeling like they need to have more and that they are not enough and that what they have is not enough, then you need a plan. And that's what the world did. The world began to actually change the definition. Peace became not enough. Simplicity meant that you were falling behind. Home became something to constantly renovate. Food became something to outsource. Rest became something that you had to earn. Beauty became something that you could never be. You had to buy it, right? And contentment, well, that's just not allowed. Why? Because a content person is a dangerous person to the system. They want you to be endlessly wanting. You can't be content. A woman who knows how to create a beautiful meal from basic ingredients is not easy to sell convenience to. A family that finds joy in sitting around a table is not easy to distract with more screens, let's say. A person who loves their life in its honest, simple, and grounded form is not as easy to convince that they need to become someone else. So what the world did is the world made the ordinary feel embarrassing. It made homemaking look small. It made practical skills look outdated. It made keeping a garden look quaint, let's say, right? It made cooking from scratch look inconvenient. It made staying home look boring. It made enough look like failure. And then once we were disconnected enough, here's the crazy thing, once we were disconnected enough from the very things that made us steady, it sold them back to us. Bread making is now a workshop. Vegetable gardens have become a lifestyle trend. Preserving has become boutique. Slow living became a brand. Nervous system regulation became a course. Community became a paid membership. Simplicity became an aesthetic. But our grandmothers, they didn't need a hashtag to know what mattered. They understood something that we are now being invited to remember. A stocked pantry is peace. A home-cooked meal is power. Practical skills are freedom. A calm home is medicine. A strong community is protection. A regulated nervous system is absolutely incredible wealth. And knowing what is enough is one of the most radical forms of sovereignty that there is. Because when you know what enough feels like, then the world can't keep moving the finish line. It can't keep convincing you that peace is just one purchase away, that worthiness is one body shape away. It can't convince you that success is just one upgrade away, or that your happiness is one achievement away, or that you are always almost there. You'll never quite arrive, but you'll be almost there. And that's the spell. That's the spell that they want you to stay stuck in, almost. The endless almost successful, almost beautiful enough, almost healed enough, almost wealthy enough, almost ready enough, almost worthy enough. Entire industries are built on keeping people in that almost. Because if you ever paused long enough to look around you and say, you know what? There's beauty right here. There's enough right here. I'm enough here. If you did that, the spell would begin to crack. And here's the deeper truth. Enough does not block more. Enough is often the very frequency that allows more to arrive. Because when you stand in gratitude for what is, you stop creating from panic, from lack, from comparison and hunger, and you stop grasping, you stop chasing, you stop trying to manifest from the wound that says, I'll be happy when. And instead, your energy, your frequency changes and you begin to create from fullness. You begin to create from peace, from appreciation, from trust, from the quiet knowing that life is already giving to you. And when you are genuinely grateful for what is, then life gives you even more to be grateful for. Not because you're forcing it, not because you're performing gratitude like it's some sort of spiritual transaction that you have to make, but because gratitude opens a channel. True gratitude softens the body. True gratitude calms the nervous system. It brings you into receiving. It makes you available to see the blessings, the opportunities, the support, the beauty, and the abundance that fear would have made you miss. Manifestation from lack feels like gripping. Manifestation from enoughness feels like overflow. And that's the difference. So let me be really clear here. This is never about shrinking your dreams. Dream big, build wealth, create beauty, rise, expand, become everything that your soul came here to be. But it's important to know the difference between a dream that comes from your soul and a desire that was installed into you by a world that profits from your dissatisfaction. That's discernment. Do you want it because it's truly aligned with you? Or do you want it because you were taught that your current life isn't enough? Do you want it because it expands your spirit, it makes you feel good, or because it helps you feel less behind than others? Do you want it because it is your truth, or because everyone around you is running and you're afraid to stand still? Because let me tell you something, standing still long enough to hear yourself might be one of the most powerful things that you will ever do. Maybe the next awakening isn't about escaping ordinary life. Maybe it's about making ordinary life sacred again. Things like the pot of soup, the clean sheets, a well-stocked freezer, a home that holds you, a child laughing in the next room, a garden that produces an abundance of food, the friend who checks in, the Sunday meals, the quiet mornings, the cozy evening on the lounge, and a nervous system that no longer feels like it's being hunted down. Maybe this is where the rebellion begins. Not in rejecting success, but in refusing to be manipulated by lack. Not in giving up ambition, but in reclaiming ambition from shame. Not in going backwards, but in remembering the parts of life we should never, ever have been convinced to abandon. Because I think, the real luxury now may not be more, but it might be peace. It might be time. It might be in knowing how to feed yourself, how to calm yourself, how to trust yourself, how to live without needing the world to constantly validate you. So maybe we don't need another upgrade. Maybe what we need is a remembering that enough is not the enemy of expansion. Enough is the very foundation that lets expansion and all that you desire come to you more easily. Gratitude isn't the absence of desire. It's actually the sacred ground where desire becomes pure. And once you remember what enough really feels like, you stop being so easy to sell to. You stop being so easy to shame. You stop being so easy to rush, to control. You stop running a race where your soul, or a race that your soul never entered. And you finally come home to the life that was waiting underneath all of the noise. So that's my thoughts for this evening. Here I was thinking I'd have a quiet cup of tea on the lounge, which is something I very rarely do. And I really felt the need to share that. Much love to you all, and I wish for you a fabulous, fabulous weekend.